Okay, folks, we're doing another podcast. I'm not sure which one this is. I think it's five. I think it might be five. And this one is really important. And I have an expert here about this. And this involves anybody who wants to take a vacation. If you want to go to the Caribbean, if you want to go to Mexico, because there's a problem. And the question is whether or not you should go. So I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Leatherman. And I'm going to let you actually give us your background because you are, should I say, you're Dr. Beach, right?
Right. Yeah,
All
correct.
right. So tell us about your background and what you do.
Well, I'm a coastal scientist. I have a PhD in coastal environmental sciences from the University of Virginia. And presently, I'm professor of environmental sciences here at Florida International University in Miami. And so I study beaches. They call me Dr. Beach. That's what I'm known as. And I've studied beaches all through this country. I've been to every beach in the United States and a lot of beaches worldwide. And so I work on beach erosion, sea level rise, hurricanes, and of course, pollution. And now we got sargassum. It's our sargassum seaweed is natural, but in the huge numbers that are coming through now, it's almost like pollution. It's a big problem.
So we've all seen sargassum at some point, although we don't know the name. I didn't know what the actual name was before, but when you go to the beach, it's that little bit of seaweed. I say little bit because that's probably the last time I've been to the beach. And you just kind of walk around it and ignore it. But what is happening now, or what's happened over the past couple of years, it's gone crazy.
Yes, it has. Not in your beaches in Georgia or the Carolinas, fortunately, but not even northern Florida, but here in South Florida, it's brought by the offshore currents. Here it's called the Gulf Stream, and it's coming off the coast of Brazil. And Brazil, as you know, is a giant country, has the largest river in the world called the Amazon River. And the Amazon is being cut down to make way for agriculture. Now, this is bad in many ways because we losing that great forest, but also to grow things there, the soil is very poor. So you have to use a lot of fertilizer, certain amount of it, too much of it, wash it off, goes to the Amazon River, flows down to the Atlantic Ocean, and you have all this sargassum there. And so we call it bluey. It explodes. Billions and billions of cells are formed. And so now we got huge masses of this stuff. It's moved by these offshore currents, uh, which we know it here is the Gulf Stream, and goes all the way up and goes to the Caribbean. So some Caribbean islands are really getting quite a bit of it, such as Barbados and a number of other islands. Some aren't getting any, fortunately, but then it comes around and joins the what's called the Gulf Stream, and we see it here in South Florida. But once we get past South Florida, the Gulf Stream goes farther offshore, actually towards Bermuda, and so the other parts of the United States don't get it. Some of it, by the way, goes in the Gulf of Mexico. So they're getting some too because there's offshore, sometimes it joins up with the loop current in the Gulf of Mexico. So it's causing problems in a lot of different areas.
Let's back up a second because I think what's fascinating about this is that I can remember years ago hearing about cutting down the trees in the Amazon and the number of trees coming down, but I never would have thought that in doing that they're using this fertilizer to I guess they're using it for farming. It
Yes.
is it's washing off into the river and it's having a real impact on the tourist industry, isn't it?
Yes, it is now. If you want to ever follow that association, what does the cutting the rainforest in Brazil have to do with beaches in the Caribbean? Doesn't seem to make much sense, but it's all linked. The other thing that's happened, of course, is that we have a lot more, it seems like a more Saharan dust. If your people heard of it's Saharan dust, it comes off of Africa. We get huge amounts of it. And right now, there's a lot of it coming over, and it's suppressing hurricane activity, which is a good thing, actually. Okay, because it's very dry, and there's trillions of pounds of this stuff going blowing off the Sahara Desert. We have trillions of pounds, millions of pounds. This stuff coming across in the air, and it's sapping the energy out of the hurricanes. So that's a good thing, but it also has nutrients in it. So that's also adding to the nutrients and causing the sargassum to, we call it blue, explode in numbers. So there's really a couple reasons, and of course the earth is warmed up, and the warmer water it means that it grows in warm water. That's the reason we get it in the summertime and don't have much problem in the winter.
So all this happening all at once, is this the worst it's been in like recorded history, or do we have any documentation of it going back? Well, how far does it go back?
Interesting point about history. Christopher Columbus and his crew, as they came across the Atlantic Ocean looking for what they thought was India, but the first land that they thought they saw was a mass of sargassum seaweed. This stuff is very extensive. Well, in fact, we call it the Sargassum Sea, which is the only sea that's not bounded by land. And sargassum's natural. There's huge amounts of it. And some of these flats of it are miles across. And they thought, oh, land ho. And they started coarcling and realized you can't land them. It's seaweed. So that's 5 feet thick. So they realized, oh no, that's not land. They kept going and finally landed somewhere, or around in Bahamas, we think. So it's always been there, spotted by Christopher Columbus, but now it's in the last 10 years or so, we're seeing huge amounts of it. And again, it's also linked to when they started massive agriculture in Brazil. But we've always had it. In the past, it's been doable. We can deal with it a little bit. It's always been cleaned up. But now, there's such massive amounts of it, can't get rid of it. And people are trying to think, what kind of useful things can we do with it? In Mexico, they use it to make bricks.
Well, so that's a good thing. There is a use for it. But for the people, let's say, not just here in Atlanta, we're owned by Gray Media, which we have stations all over the country, and including in Florida. Why is this important to people who might be thinking about taking a vacation?
Well, the beaches sometimes get covered with it, and it rots. It smells like rotten eggs. It attracts a lot of flies. So it's not nice. I mean, it's not red tide. It doesn't contain the harmful bacteria, but it's very unpleasant. And it also clogs the water up, so it's very difficult to get in the water. In fact, it gets so thick and such massive, it can drown sea turtles, believe it or not. And also, the sea turtles can't come up on the beach and lay their eggs. It's just such massive amount. And so, how do you get rid of all of this? Before, we had these machines to pick it up, but now we're going to put all this stuff. And so much mass of it. So that's the problem. One thing about the Caribbean is their beaches are usually pocket beaches. They're kind of small. But one thing they're doing at a few beaches is using these booms used to control oil spills. And they're putting it on the outside of the beaches to stop the seaweed from coming in, the sargassum seaweed from coming into the beach. Because this is a floating type of seaweed. It floats.
So is it working, what they're doing?
Yes, but it's expensive. There's not a lot of these oil booms available. So you'd have to check to see if this is happening at the beach you want to go to. It's not in fact, in Cancun, they've been having the Navy come out and clean it up. I mean, that's how much of it's there sometimes.
Are they able to keep up with it?
Some places, yes. Some places not so.
So you really have to be careful about where you go. And I don't want to bring down the tourism industry even more by putting this out there, but people do need to know. And also, when I went to make a reservation online, I did get a warning about sargassum. So what do people need to know if we're thinking about taking a vacation either now, last minute, or going into the fall?
Well, I think, the summertime we had the worst amount of it. And so obviously you get the better rates in the summer to go down to the Caribbean, but in the wintertime, there's hardly any there. So, but of course that's high season, more expensive, more difficult to get the bookings. But I think you might want to call the hotel and see if they're going to be truthful to you, and they should, and say, do you have a lot of sargassum seaweed? What are you doing about it? What can I expect? I want to come and have a good time. I don't want to, it's not going to bother you. It's not going to hurt you. But, well, some people are kind of allergic to the smell, possibly. If you have allergies or things like that, you wouldn't want to be around it. But it's just very unpleasant. And so it's not a good time if your beach is covered with this stuff, it's in the water. What are you going to do? Go to the pool, I guess, right?
So who's been most affected by this? Is there one island or islands in particular, or Cancun or wherever? Who's getting hit the hardest?
Well, Cancun's obviously been hit. Barbados has been so badly hit that the prime minister said they'd rather get hit by a hurricane, a small hurricane, than all this sargassum seaweed coming ashore. That's how bad it is this time of year. And there are other islands. Puerto Rico has been pretty good. Doesn't seem to get it because something people go usually to the North Shore of Puerto Rico. That's where some of the best beaches are. And so the North Shore of Puerto Rico is not getting this. The west and south side of Puerto Rico is getting the seaweed. So it just varies on where you are.
What about some of the smaller islands? Like I know we were looking at St. Martin, and I pulled up some cameras. And that's another tip for people as well. You told me if you just Google surf cameras or surf cams, you can actually look live and take, get live images from the beach and see what's there. What about some of the smaller islands like St. Martin or St. Bart's or Dominica, like those?
Well, St. Martin's, there's two sides. The Dutch side is, I think it's to the south, and the French side to the north. I think that's right. So the north side of the islands are usually okay. The south side are more of a problem. Now, I haven't really looked at the current for St. Martin's and where it's going. It may be okay. I'm not sure. Again, I think you need to call and look at the surf cams, wherever you can find out. But also, you can go online and search for there's satellite imagery, and you might want to look that in. University of South Florida has been doing this. They have posted up satellite imagery where you see a huge stream. It's a river of sargassum coming upstream of it. It's someplace that, hundreds of miles long. Now, the other thing is, it's patchy. Sometimes a huge patch, as much as a mile in extent, washes into an area, and then you have no sargassum in some areas. So you could be at a beach someplace, and, well, a long beach, like here in Miami, you've got parts of Miami, no sargassum, another place, it's covered with it. It's patchy. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's patchy.
What about the Gulf? Panhandle, 30A, Destin. Is anybody should anybody be seeing it there anytime soon?
They're getting some because there's something called a loop current in the Gulf, and this sometimes connects to this current going from the south. Most of it goes to the Gulf Stream. If someone can't go up in the Gulf of Mexico in the loop current, but they're pretty good on cleaning their beaches up, and they're not good huge amounts. So I think probably good there, probably pretty good for the major beaches. I'm sure they cleaned it up.
Is this here to stay, or is there something that could be done to prevent this? Could Brazil, I guess the Amazon runs through Brazil, correct?
Brazil.
Could they do anything about this too? Or do you know of any pressure on the government there to stop dumping?
I frankly think we should put some pressure on it because that's the source of a lot of this problem. And they should not be cutting down the Amazon. They should not be heavily fertilizing their agricultural fields, so much runoff. So, but they're out to make the next amount of money. And so, they're part of what's called BRIC. They want to set up their own currency, Brazil, Russia, India, China. So there's another angle there, all about economics. And they're trying to maximize, I've been to Brazil. I love the people there. Very fun people. They love beaches, carnival, the soccer. That's the three things they love in Brazil. I was in Rio de Janeiro, which are great beaches. So by the way, they're not getting hit. That's interesting, isn't it? But at any rate, but we need to deal with this problem.
Anything else that you need to add that we haven't touched on? I'm not hearing you say don't go. I'm just saying because it's spotty, but if you go, you might want to stay on the north end, the north side of an island.
Yes.
Right. Or make sure that they have some protection or barrier in place so they
enjoy yourself. Exactly. Just check it out, as you said, with surf cams. Look online. Look at the University of South Florida satellite information. They're actually saying something about the various beaches, I think. Well, maybe more countries than particular beaches. So just be aware that it's out there in the summers when it's doors.
All right, doctor. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we'll put this out there for people. I don't want to tell people not to take a vacation, but maybe you do wait until fall before you go, or at least do your research.
It gets better in the fall.
It gets better in the fall. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Best beach in America. How about that? Quick quiz question.
Well, I have my top 10 list. Go to drbeach.org. Forget all the top 10 beaches. And so I'm not going to tell you now. You go see my website.
All right, we'll put that up. All right. Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure.
All right. Take care.